Concern level is not high, but there is some concern because it sounds like the setup for an excuse. It sounds like the things that you say before a game when you don't play well, when the throws aren't where they're supposed to be.
I'll be damned if I'm not concerned. I mean, what have we been watching?
In routes on air, just kind of felt a little something in my oblique. Just didn't want to push it. Wasn't the day to push it. So
he had 2 against Pitt, 2 against New Orleans, 2 against Atlanta, 2 against Jacksonville, 2 against Tennessee, an interception and 2 fumbles against the Carolina Panthers. Stephen A., you mentioned it. He's had 20 turnovers.
The Seattle Seahawks are 24 hours away from their divisional round showdown against the San Francisco 49ers. 1 seed versus a wild card team that nobody wanted to see in the postseason. Should be simple, right? Should be a cakewalk for Sam Darnold and company, right? Wrong, because here's what happened yesterday at practice that has the entire NFL world buzzing. Sam Darnold felt something in his oblique during routes on air, not during contact, not during a full-speed drill, during routes on air. He immediately left practice, went inside for treatment, and Drew Lock took first-team snaps. Let that sink in for a second. 2 days before the biggest game of the season, your starting quarterback can't finish practice because his oblique is tight.
Don't act like this brother can't go out on the football field and potentially lose you a game.
Now, Darnold came out and did what every quarterback does in this situation. He downplayed it, said the chance of him not playing is very low, probably closer to 0. Said he'll be ready to go Saturday, all the right things to say, all the confident vibes you want from your franchise quarterback. But Ryan Clark isn't buying it, not even a little bit.
Concern level is not high, but there is some concern because it sounds like the setup for an excuse. It sounds like the things that you say before a game when you don't play well, when the throws aren't where they're supposed to be.
Boom, right out the gate, Clark is calling it what it is, an excuse, a built-in narrative for when things go sideways. And you know what? He might be absolutely right. This is the exact kind of situation where a quarterback who's already been mentally fragile this season gets an out. When he throws his 3rd interception of the game, when he sails a ball over Justin Jefferson's head on 3rd and 6, when he fumbles after a strip sack, everyone can point back to Thursday's practice and say, well, his oblique was hurt. But here's the thing that should terrify Seahawks fans even more than the injury itself, the timing. Coming off a bye week, 2 weeks to get healthy, to prepare, to get your body right. And somehow, Sam Darnold aggravates his oblique doing the most basic quarterback activity imaginable. That's not just concerning, that's alarming. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back either. He looked at the numbers, looked at the tape, and saw exactly what we've all been watching down the stretch.
I'll be damned if I'm not concerned. I mean, what have we been watching? What have we been watching?
And he's right to ask that question, because what have we been watching? Let's break it down. No sugarcoating, just facts. Since Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions against the Los Angeles Rams in December, the entire Seattle offense has shifted. They've become conservative. They've played mistake-free football, or at least they've tried to. 8 touchdowns and 8 interceptions over his last 8 games. That's not franchise quarterback play. That's not even good quarterback play. That's barely serviceable. But here's the crazy part. Seattle hasn't lost. They've won despite Darnold's limitations because their defense is absolutely elite, top 2 in the entire NFL. They've been bailing him out week after week, game after game. And now we're supposed to believe that in the playoffs against Kyle Shanahan, that formula is going to hold? Clark wasn't finished. He went full forensic analyst mode and started listing off Darnold's turnover resume like he was reading a rap sheet.
He had 2 against Pitt, 2 against New Orleans, 2 against Atlanta, 2 against Jacksonville, 2 against Tennessee, an interception and 2 fumbles against the Carolina Panthers. Stephen A., you mentioned it. He's had 20 turnovers.
20 turnovers. Let me say that again for the people in the back. 20 turnovers this season. He leads all players in giveaways with 20 total, 14 interceptions and 6 fumbles lost. That's not an outlier. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. That's who he is. And sure, Cam Newton tried to provide some context, tried to explain that not all turnovers are created equal, that timing matters, that location on the field matters. Fair point. Throwing a pick in the first quarter is different from throwing one in the fourth. A fumble in your own territory hurts more than one at midfield. All true. But you know what? In the playoffs, against Kyle Shanahan, every turnover is catastrophic. Every mistake gets magnified. There's no margin for error when you're facing a coach who's been to multiple Super Bowls, who knows how to exploit weakness, who's literally seen you twice this season already. Speaking of those matchups, let's talk about what happened when these teams played earlier this year. Seattle scored a grand total of 26 points combined in 2 games against San Francisco. The 49ers scored 20. These were low-scoring defensive slugfests where every possession mattered, where every drive could be the difference. And now we're supposed to believe that Sam Darnold, with a tight oblique, with 20 turnovers on his resume, with a history of collapsing under pressure, is going to be the difference maker? Stephen A. wasn't having it.
Don't act like this brother can't go out on the football field and potentially lose you a game.
Exactly. This isn't the regular season anymore where your defense can save you 4 possessions in a row. This isn't a game where you can throw 2 picks and still win by double digits because the other team couldn't execute. This is win or go home. This is legacy defining. This is the moment where stars are born and pretenders are exposed. And Sam Darnold? We've seen this movie before. Last year, Minnesota, playoff game against the Rams, complete and total meltdown. Yes, he got sacked. Yes, the offensive line didn't protect him. Yes, there were circumstances beyond his control, but at the end of the day, he couldn't make the throws when they mattered most. Now he's with Seattle. Different team, better defense, better weapons. But is he different? That's the million-dollar question nobody wants to ask out loud.
If he's not touched, it's one hit away or one movement away that can flare it up and can throw off everything. But given the circumstances, I don't think that should be any type of detriment to him being the best version of himself.
And Newton's right. If Darnold doesn't get touched, he might be fine. But this is the NFL playoffs. He's going to get touched. Nick Bosa might not be at 100%, but he's still Nick Bosa. The 49ers still have one of Robert Saleh's signature defenses that knows how to generate pressure, how to confuse quarterbacks, how to create chaos. One hit, that's all it takes. One shot to the ribs, one awkward landing, one twist while throwing, and that oblique flares up. Then what? Drew Lock comes in cold? Seattle's Super Bowl hopes rest on a backup quarterback who couldn't beat out Geno Smith for a starting job earlier in his career? The stakes couldn't be higher. Seattle is the #1 seed. The road to the Super Bowl in the NFC goes through them. That 12th man crowd is going to be deafening. The pressure is going to be immense. And pressure, as Clark and Stephen A. both know, breaks pipes. This isn't about hating on Sam Darnold. This isn't about wanting him to fail. This is about being realistic about who he is as a player and what we've seen from him when the lights are brightest. The first 9 games of the season, he was sensational. 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, averaging 251 yards per game, throwing the ball downfield with confidence. That version of Sam Darnold could absolutely win this game. That version could march down the field, make the throws, and punch Seattle's ticket to the NFC Championship. But that was months ago. Since then, we've seen the conservative version, the game manager version, the version that throws 8 touchdowns and 8 picks over 8 games, the version that needs his defense to be perfect because he can't be trusted to win the game with his arm. And now, on top of all that psychological baggage, on top of all those turnovers and all that inconsistency, are we supposed to believe a tight oblique 2 days before kickoff is no big deal? The stage is set, the lights are bright, the pressure is suffocating. Now we wait to see if Sam Darnold rises to the moment or becomes another cautionary tale about quarterbacks who couldn't handle the postseason spotlight. And based on everything we've seen, smart money says Ryan Clark's concerns are more than justified. This is going to be must-watch television for all the right reasons and all the wrong ones.